All right, Lions, Bucks, everybody. They're getting ready to do battle this week. Yesterday, and I'll go to Spenny with this because he had the reaction. Sewell, Joseph, Davenport all didn't practice on Tuesday. What are the streets saying? And by streets, I mean the writers. What's the deal with that?
I mean, I don't think it's too much to worry about. Davenport was a groin. Kirby was a hamstring. If you're going to worry about any of them, it would be those two. Sewell was an ankle, I think, or something like that. He's going to play. I'm not worried about that.
He looked all right at the end of the game. Yeah.
So did Kirby. So did Davenport. So I would be surprised if those guys didn't play. It was, we'll see.
Okay.
The thing I was happy about that J-Mo practiced, Carlton Davis practiced.
Right.
Those were the two guys that you saw kind of deal with a little bit of an injury. Obviously, J-Mo came back in after his injury scare, and Carlton Davis just looked like he got the wind knocked out of him, so that wasn't anything too crazy. But yeah, both of them practiced in full. DJ Reader practiced in full.
And there it is.
You like that.
D-Mac, DJ Reader practiced in full. You ready? You ready for the experience?
Absolutely. Can't wait. We're so excited when he signed. Just to see what he adds to the middle of that field, and he's going to need it. Obviously, with Baker Mayfield, and hopefully he adds what we think he's going to add. Obviously, it's the same thing. You're going in with a little, not skepticism, but it's we got to see, right? We got to see because he's coming off that quad injury, stuff like that. And but if he can be anything like he was last year, right? You're way ahead. He's going to make everybody around him better.
But for the record, by the way, to wrap up the baseball discussion real quick, at Caesar Sportsbook, the Tigers to make the playoffs are 7-1. 7-1's worth a spin, man.
That is.
I think that's worth a spin. You're more or less betting against the Minnesota Twins at this point, but
which is a pretty safe bet.
Yeah, 7-1, man.
Fucking Angels suck too.
Yeah, they won a game though. Like that's all you can ask.
Get one more.
Damn, so greedy.
I'm greedy.
You are, man. But no, talking Lions, Bucks here, and then just to get everybody up to date, as far as what we're talking about, the betting world and where it sits. Lions, Bucks. I've seen 7.5, and that's where it's sitting right now. 7.5, over under 51.5, and again, that comes courtesy of Caesar's Sportsbook. But D-Mac, I'm not gonna lie to you, man. When I heard the subtractions from practice on Tuesday, to see all those names out, I didn't like it. But then again, I have to remember that this is life for a lot of teams and a lot of players. And we're still new to this expectation, this Super Bowl or bust. So what I'm going to do, D-Mac, is lean on the staff, lean on the medical staff, and say, okay, we're cool.
It's all part of it. It's all part of it. Who's available for Sunday? This is all about Sunday. This is all about making yourself available, and we've seen that. And this is a team that got themselves to the NFC Championship game, so I think they know what they're doing, right? Mm-hmm. So until they don't, and again, you're starting the season playing both teams that you played in the playoffs last year, and you're playing it at home. So I'm excited. This should be a hell of a football game.
And I would agree. Dan Campbell, because here's what I think, and I may be guilty of this, D-Mac, is I think, like, you hear me do this all the time, where I talk about a spot. I feel like this is a spot for the Lions. I think this is a spot for them to play well. Admittedly, offensively, they did not play well on Sunday night. I think this is a spot for them to bounce back. I don't take the Buccaneers defense into account. And I hear Dan Campbell say it, which fortifies it with me. It's up to the Lions.
Always is.
It's up to the Lions. The Buccaneers defense plays no part in this. If the Lions play well, they can't stop them.
Execution, right? And as a team in any league that has championship aspirations, your mentality is it's not what they do to us. It's all on us. It's what we do to ourselves.
Dan Campbell
it's what we do to ourselves. Are we prepared? Can we execute our game plan? That's our mentality as, back in the day as the Detroit Red Wings, is that if we played our game and everybody took care of what they needed to take care of, there wasn't a team that could beat us. Right? And that's the mentality that I think that you hear out of the coaching side, is being prepared. And this is all part of it. So if a guy has to miss a practice and this and that, they know what they're doing to get the guys ready for Sunday.
This is where I lean on you and ask you, D-Mac. Back in the chip runs, what was the practice percentage?
Oh, well, so the NFL's different, right? But if you think that it's sort of like playoffs during the week or whatever like that, like Scotty Bowman's mentality was puck drop is 7:30. Whatever you have to do to get yourself to be the best on that day. So it's about learning what you needed to do in preparation, how much practice you needed. If some guys needed time off, some guys needed to skate. Like Drapes would hardly ever miss an optional because his mentality is he's one of those ones that, hey, I'll get sick if I don't work out. Whereas myself, it's like I got to save the energy and focus and whatever just for that night. It's more important to mentally do other things and stuff like that, as long as physically you're prepared. That's all it is.
Control your nervous energy.
Whatever it is,
Yeah.
be what's going to make you the best you. Now, when you're a younger player, you usually, you're part of. There isn't an option.
You feel like you need to be there. Yeah.
Yeah, you got to pay your dues. You haven't figured it out yet. And it's a lot easier when you win. I think they learned a lot about themselves, the Detroit Lions, in last year's run. And again, to me, Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell and this entire coaching staff, from the coaches to the trainers, have a full grasp of everybody in that locker room, whether you're on the main roster, whether you're on the practice roster, whatever it is. And that's just a blessing. So you're going into combat, so to speak, and you like what you have. And when you worry about is what you're going to do and how you're going to execute, you're already ahead.
Woodward Sports chat thread, Nicholas Duncan, Bucks about to be cooked, 41-23. And Nicholas, I think, and I don't call for this, right? And I'm not calling for a bet on it, because once you throw that hook on the 7, I always get nervous about that. Then you're under so much pressure to score first. When you're laying that hook and the other team scores the first touchdown, you're down 14.5-0. Like
in a one-score league, right?
That's a big swing right
over
there.
One score.
But my gut is telling me I'm with you. I think that they're going to execute flawlessly offensively. Flawlessly. And I think the pace of the game, because here's the thing too. When the Lions execute flawlessly and put 30+ on the board, the number of possessions goes up. So it stands to reason the number of points you're going to give goes up.
Over.
I always get caught up.
Highest point total of the week per Caesar Sportsbook.
Again.
Which
last week they were the highest too. No, but because and it wasn't until I started working in sports and being around it every day where I understood game flow and the impact that it has. Because people just look at cold hard numbers at defenses. They just say, well, this team gave up 10 points. Their defense has to be good. Well, I mean, not all 10 points are constructed the same. When you get 3 more possessions, you're going to score more points. That's just the way that things work out. So I do think it's going to be weird, right? I think if the Lions do that, like what we're talking about, they put 40+ on the board or whatever it is, and say they do give up 28. Say it does get high scoring like that. I think the reaction everybody will have post-game is like, well, did you see the defense gave up 28 points? You know what I mean? Like, it's always going to be something. Because I was frustrated after the Rams thing. And I was frustrated in the moment, like the fans, but then the further I got away from it, the more I kind of came around on it. It's always going to be something.
No, there's always going to be something, but that's also, too, is you're nitpicking on a championship team. You don't nitpick on, what are you going to nitpick on, the Tigers when they were struggling, or the Wings when they stunk, or the Pistons?
No, you're just like, they stink.
Expectations. And I think that the one thing is to break it down is, if that's the case, how were they scored? The one thing, and I think when we come back from break, but I want that nailed Aaron Glenn's quote about Carlton Davis and about preparation and stuff like this, mentality, is spot on as far as going against your former team and doing different things like that. So that doesn't bother me. To me, it's win the game. I don't care how we do it. Then we'll break it down on what went wrong, whether it's, you know, like, do you not think Mike Evans and Chris Godwin or whatever are going to get something? It's the NFL, bro. It's the offensive league. It's set up for the receivers. They're great receivers. They are going to get something, but they're not going to get all of it. And I think that we're going to show something because the secondary isn't the last secondary that they faced last year in the playoffs.